Alright, so I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard already, but to give a quick recap, we went out to Mexico to meet up with streetspeed717 and iconic GT500 for some pulls in Mexico, and we had a couple other guys there too. Will Rogers from Mexico Rolls, my buddy Travis Fulton came. He was a support vehicle. My buddy Ghost ZR1 with his white ZR1. We all went out to meet up with these guys, and so I raced streetspeed717, and he was actually the only one I got to race. We raced 3 times. The first pull, I was just in the wrong gear, wrong RPM. I thought we were going to do a 60. He wanted to do a 40, so I just he smoked me bad. And then the second run was another 40, and I put it down in second gear, and I got some new tires on here. The tires, they work really well. They're ET Street R's 275 60 15 on a 15x10, and it hooked like it never did before. It still spun a little bit in second on that race, but I pedaled it and it hooked, hit third, and started pulling on him, hit fourth, and kind of freight trained him actually. So if you watch his video, you can see him laughing as I'm passing him. It was a great time. He's an awesome dude. I got nothing bad to say about him. He even talked to me like if I didn't want to put this in the video, he would have took it out. But yeah, he's an awesome dude. So then we raced one more time after that, and that was a third gear 60 roll, and I just spun. He took off, and then at the end of that race, I couldn't slow down for the turn, so he got off, and he went right, I went left. I kind of lost the guys for a while, so I drove around because I really didn't know my way around that area. So I drove around, and Deceiving Bailey was sitting on the side. He's another guy who was there in his Cadillac getting video, and he was there on the side of the road getting video. So I pulled up next to him. I was trying to contact my buddy John. He was the only phone number that I had to see where these guys were, and then finally called me back, and they said they were waiting for me. So I started the car and drove there to meet up with them. And one thing I noticed, like when I was sitting there talking to Deceiving Bailey, I heard a little squeak, like almost, sounded like a belt squeal or something. So I shut the car off, and then I was talking to Deceiving Bailey for a little bit, and then started it back up, and went and met up with the guys who were waiting for me. So I pulled over, and then I shut the exhaust. I had the exhaust dump open, and I shut the exhaust dump so I could hear, and I heard that like little squeak, and then like a knock. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I glanced at the oil pressure, and it was a little lower than normal. So I popped the hood, closed the exhaust, and we were listening. And I talked to the guys. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna run anymore. I think something's up. I might have hurt the motor or something. So everybody came over, and my buddy John's there, and he's like, push the clutch in, do this, do that. Maybe it's something, something in the trans or the clutch that's making a weird noise every now and then. And we couldn't really figure out what it was, but then just sitting there idling, the car just shut off, just squealed to a halt. It was like a roar, and it just shut off. I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. So sitting there, and we're trying to think, and so I go to try to start it. It just wouldn't start. It was like hard to crank over. It just wouldn't go. So Deceiving Bailey, we decided to tow it home. He offered. He said he got a tow rig. Big shout out to Deceiving Bailey for helping me out, towing me home. So long story short, we got the car home, pushed it in, and then I tried to start it again, and it started it, and it runs, but it doesn't sound good. So I'll start it for a couple seconds here just so you guys can hear it. But sure you can hear that. So we're not sure. It might be a rod bearing, might be a lifter. We really don't know, but it's pretty loud. And But the oil pressure seems pretty good. That's normal. So that's a good sign. I mean, usually if it's like a main bearing, you won't have shit for oil pressure. So that's where I'm at now. We gotta yank the motor, and we gotta see what happened. I mean, if it's something easy, you know, we'll fix it. If it's something hard, then I may look at a different short block, a different motor, and see what happens. But yeah, we gotta tear it down and go from there. I mean, the only thing that sucks right now is I was talking to my brother. I do all my work at my brother's house, and he's in the process of putting a lift in his garage. So he said, you know, it's going to be a month or two before he's ready to do anything with this. So I may just end up waiting and just, I mean, it sucks because I have nothing better to do right now. But, I mean, if I wait a little longer, I can get some extra shit. I was thinking maybe put a K-member in it. You know, maybe go with an aftermarket, not an aftermarket, but just a different, you know, a different block, a different engine totally. But this thing's been good to me. If you look at my older videos, like if you look on my YouTube channel, I have a first start video. This engine was in my white car way back in 2011, I think, was when we first did the first startup in that car. So it's going on 10 years with this engine. Bottom end's been together. So yeah, it's been good to me. It's you know, it's taken tons of abuse. I had it down Pocono, 179 miles an hour. But what I think might have happened as far as the damage, if it is a rod bearing, which could be caused by oil starvation, which I'm running an LS1 F-body pan in here, like from a 98 to 02 Camaro Firebird F-body pan. And if you do some research, they are known to have oil starvation issues, but it's mainly guys who do like severe launches at the track, doing wheelies, shit like that, where the oil sloshes away from the pickup tube, which is kind of in the center of the pan rather than at the back. And the only thing I can think of is with the traction that these tires gave me, it was enough to get the oil to slosh away and run the bearings dry for a split second or whatever. And but I mean, it remains to be seen. We'll, you know, see what's wrong with it. We'll get it back as soon as I can, and we'll be tearing up the streets again.